You might not want to do this, but try to imagine yourself in grade 8. Now, raise your hand if what you're imagining is not the greatest version of yourself. Oh wow, that's a lot of you. Well, for some people, their grade 8 self is something they really don't want to look back at. While for other people, their grade 8 self is actually not that bad at all. But I hope this isn't you, because that would mean you peaked in middle school. Well, for me, grade 8 was the year where I hit a vape. Let me give you a bit of a backstory. I used to go to this Catholic private elementary school, which was awesome, but it also meant that I was stuck with the same 29 people for 8 years. So when I moved into this new school with what seemed to have 1 million new people, I was literally tweaking with excitement. So many new people, new faces, new names. It almost felt impossible to get to know everyone. And so I was put into this class with a bunch of new classmates. You can imagine how nervous I was, since it was my first time in what coming-of-age movies glamorized to be the high school life. And I was so nervous. I needed to fit in. There were these girls in my class that, for little grade 8 me, were the epitome of cool. They had the longest eyelashes, the dangliest jewelry, and the shortest skirts. It was a private school, so we had to do with what we had. And I needed to be friends with them. And so we became friends. Slowly, I started lathering mascara onto my short, straight Asian eyelashes, which led my mom to say I looked like a clown. I started saying the same things as them, and I even started to watch the same shows that they watched. It was a bit of a craze for a while. But then, one day, one of the girls offered me something that looked like a vape. It turns out that this was something that they had been doing for a while, and was also something that I felt like I had to do to actually be one of them. And so, regrettably, I took a hit and coughed. I coughed a lot. Immediately afterwards, I started internally freaking. I knew that I was just doing this for looks and my outward appearance, but seriously, how did I let it get this bad? Of course, fitting in and, knowing everything about everything and everyone was important to me, but it was an understatement to say that I felt disappointed in myself. Obviously, my mom found out, and naturally, she freaked out like any mother would. She couldn't believe that I became someone who vaped, and I was trying to convince her that no, she didn't understand. Cool people did this. And I also kind of had to do it to be in the group. Do you see what's wrong with that statement? And so, over time, I slowly started realizing I sounded insane. Like, what do you mean I had to do it to be in the group, right? That sounds like an initiation to some sort of cult. I sounded insane, I acted insane, I looked insane, and I had to change myself in an insane way. Looking around, I realized that all of my relationships had diverted. The people that I was closest to were pretty bad influences, as you can probably guess. And I felt super far away from my mom, my dad, my best friend, and most importantly, from myself. My values were all twisted, and honestly, I felt like I had really weak judgment from all of the times that I caved into peer pressure. And that meant I had really low self-esteem. And so a part of me was like, girl, you have to change something. And so I decided to step away from Lazy Laya. Thanks. Lazy Laya was an identity that I created at the start of 2020. Not consciously, of course, but in the hopes of fitting in, to feel more popular and relevant. She made some mistakes, like making TikTok dances during lunch instead of actually eating for lunch. And I knew in my core that in my dream life, I was nothing like Lazy Laya. I was strong enough to say no, and I could prioritize my own needs and wants. And so I started distancing myself from the people that I had tried so hard to grow close to for over a year. I started working on myself, nurturing my own interests and bettering myself. And slowly, I started realizing that maybe mascara wasn't for me. Maybe those tall Nike socks I wore to look cool didn't actually look very good on me. My perspective shifted from I hope they like me to I hope I like me. And I think there is so much power in that. Because when you are confident in your own identity, you're stable. Because you've always got your own back. If you feel like you're doing something that isn't for the major benefit of yourself, you're not doing it for you. And you should be. And I know that sounds selfish and maybe a little bit snarky, but to be honest, we have to be a bit selfish when it comes to prioritizing ourselves first. We have to find ways to navigate through this in our daily lives and actually find out what we're doing for ourselves and not for others. So, the next time someone urges you to do something you don't really want to do, you have to ask yourself, is this something I really want? And will this benefit me in the long term? And I don't mean like a friend calling you up after dinner to get a sweet treat. Of course, I love me some Rocky Point ice cream. I mean, like if someone were to offer you a vape and it didn't align with you, what would you say? We've got to prioritize ourselves first, because at the end of the day, who are you doing it for? You're doing it for you. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at this. I still find myself looking for the easy way out and changing myself so that I fit into other people's perspectives. But what's important is, at the end of the day, you strive to keep working to who you are. Maybe yesterday I caved a little, and then today I realized that didn't align with who I was, and tomorrow I'll make better choices that align with me. So, I want you to picture your grade 8 self one more time. Even if they make you cringe, just realize that the present you was made with all of your past experiences, problems, and mistakes. All of your past is what makes you, you. Lazy Laya changed my perspective by a mile and taught me things that I couldn't have learned if I didn't have her. So, all you can do now is keep your head straight and just remember that you are your #1 priority. Maybe one day, you'll become someone that your grade 8 self would see as a role model. Thank you.